It began without warning. One day the skies darkened as massive, ominous shapes blotted out the sun. Alien ships, sleek and otherworldly, descended from the heavens, casting shadows over cities and countryside alike. Panic spread quickly as the invaders made their presence known. The aliens, tall and grotesque, with mottled skin and eyes that glowed a menacing red, landed in the heart of major cities. Their technology was far beyond anything humanity had ever seen. They moved with precision, their weapons emitting beams of energy that disintegrated buildings and vaporized anyone who stood in their path. In New York, chaos reigned as people ran through the streets trying to escape the destruction. Mark, a firefighter, watched in horror as a towering alien ship hovered over Central Park, its underbelly opening to release a swarm of smaller craft. He grabbed his radio. "We need backup. The entire city's under attack." Similar scenes played out across the globe. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower crumbled under the relentless assault. In Tokyo, skyscrapers fell like dominoes. The world's militaries scrambled to respond, but their efforts were in vain. Conventional weapons were useless against the alien invaders. Fighter jets were swatted from the sky, and tanks were reduced to molten metal. Within hours, the world as humanity knew it was unrecognizable. The aliens rounded up survivors, herding them like cattle. Those who resisted were ruthlessly eliminated. The invaders spoke through strange devices, their harsh, guttural language translated into a cold, mechanical monotone. "You are now subjects of the Varnoth Empire. Submit or be destroyed." Mark found himself in a makeshift prison camp surrounded by dazed and terrified people. Among them was Emily, a young mother clutching her crying infant. "What do they want with us?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mark shook his head, his jaw clenched. "I don't know, but we have to stay strong. We can't let them break us." The days turned into weeks, and then months. The alien overlords enforced their rule with an iron fist. Human labor was used to build enormous structures, monuments to the Varnoth's power. Food was scarce, and conditions were brutal. The invaders seemed to take a perverse pleasure in humanity's suffering. Years passed under alien rule. The once vibrant cities were now grim reminders of humanity's fall, with alien edifices towering over crumbling human structures. Amid this desolation, whispers of rebellion began to spread. Small acts of defiance gave people a glimmer of hope. In the shadows of what was once Los Angeles, a group of rebels began to coalesce. Led by Jack, a former soldier who had lost his family in the invasion, they met in secret, using abandoned subway tunnels to move undetected. Jack's resolve was unbreakable. "We can't let them win," he urged his growing band of followers. "We must fight back." Their first recruit was Sarah, a brilliant engineer who had managed to avoid capture by living off the grid. She brought with her a wealth of technical knowledge. "I can build weapons," she told Jack, "and I can hack into their systems. We can use their technology against them." The group also included Maria, a doctor who had seen too many friends and family perish under the aliens' harsh rule. She provided medical care and served as the group's moral compass. "We're fighting for more than just survival," she reminded them. "We're fighting for our humanity." One night, Jack called a meeting in the depths of their underground hideout. He spread a map on a makeshift table. "Our first target is here," he said, pointing to a supply depot. "It's lightly guarded and crucial for their operations. We hit it, we send a message." The rebels moved swiftly. Under the cover of darkness, they approached the depot. Sarah rigged explosives while Jack and Maria kept watch. As dawn approached, they retreated to a safe distance. With a nod from Jack, Sarah detonated the charges. The explosion rocked the ground and flames shot into the sky. Alien soldiers scrambled to respond, but it was too late. The depot was a smoldering ruin. The rebels watched from their vantage point, a sense of triumph washing over them. "This is just the beginning," Jack promised, his eyes blazing with determination. "We'll hit them again and again until they're the ones living in fear." The group nodded, fueled by a newfound sense of purpose. They knew the road ahead would be perilous, but they were ready to fight for their freedom no matter the cost. Sarah, the group's engineer, had spent weeks planning the attack. She had devised a series of homemade explosives, small but powerful. "We'll need to be quick and precise," she said, laying out the plan. The depot is heavily guarded, but there's a weak spot in their defenses. We hit them hard and fast, then get out." As night fell, the team moved into position. Jack, Sarah, and a few other rebels approached the depot under the cover of darkness. They wore makeshift camouflage and carried a mix of stolen alien weapons and improvised explosives. The tension was palpable as they neared their target. Jack motioned for the group to halt. "Sarah, you're up," he whispered. She nodded and crept forward, her movement silent and deliberate. She placed the explosives at key structural points around the depot, her hands steady despite the high stakes. While Sarah worked, Jack and the others kept watch, their eyes scanning the perimeter for any sign of patrols. Suddenly, the sound of approaching footsteps reached their ears. Jack signaled for everyone to take cover. 2 alien soldiers, their eyes glowing eerily in the night, walked past, speaking in their harsh, guttural language. Jack held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. The soldiers paused, their eyes sweeping the area. For a moment it seemed like they might have been discovered. But then, the soldiers moved on, their footsteps fading into the distance. Sarah returned, her face determined. "It's done," she whispered. "Let's move." The rebels retreated to a safe distance, taking cover behind a cluster of abandoned vehicles. Jack glanced at Sarah, who nodded and pressed the detonator. The night exploded into a fiery blaze as the depot erupted in flames. The force of the blast shook the ground, and the air filled with the sounds of destruction. The rebels watched, a mix of triumph and relief washing over them. "We did it," Jack said, a rare smile breaking across his face. "This is just the beginning." The success of the depot attack was a significant blow to the alien forces, but it also provoked a swift and brutal response. The following day, alien patrols doubled in number, their movements more aggressive and coordinated. Their leader, Kaldor, an imposing figure with a reputation for ruthlessness, addressed the human population through hijacked broadcast systems. Kaldor's image appeared on every screen, his eyes glowing with anger. "Rebellion will not be tolerated," he snarled, his voice amplified by alien technology. "Those responsible for the attack on our depot will be found and punished. Resistance is futile." Jack and his team watched the broadcast from their hideout, a mix of defiance and fear in their eyes. "He's trying to scare us," Maria said, her voice steady. "We can't let him." Despite the heightened danger, the resistance continued their efforts. They knew that every act of defiance, no matter how small, was a step towards freedom. Jack called a meeting to discuss their next move. "We need to be smarter," Sarah said, her eyes fierce. "We need to hit them where it hurts the most." The rebels began to gather intelligence on alien operations, using a network of informants and scouts. They discovered that the aliens relied heavily on a central communication hub to coordinate their forces. "If we can disrupt their communications, we can throw them into disarray," Jack said, outlining the plan. As they prepared for the mission, the team knew the risks were higher than ever. Alien patrols were everywhere, and the punishment for capture was severe. But the fire of rebellion burned brightly within them, fueled by the hope of a free future. On the night of the attack, the rebels moved with even greater caution. The communication hub was a heavily fortified building, surrounded by alien soldiers and surveillance drones. Jack led the way, his senses heightened, every shadow a potential threat. Sarah hacked into the security systems, creating a temporary blackout. "We have 5 minutes," she whispered. "Let's move." The team slipped inside, planting explosives at critical points within the hub. The atmosphere was tense, each second feeling like an eternity. Just as they finished setting the charges, an alarm blared. "We've been detected," Maria shouted. Jack acted quickly. "Fall back," he ordered. The rebels retreated, alien soldiers hot on their heels. As they exited the building, Jack detonated the explosives. The hub erupted in a cascade of flames and debris, and the aliens' communication network was thrown into chaos. Back at their hideout, the rebels regrouped, exhausted but exhilarated. "We did it," Sarah said, her face flushed with victory. "We disrupted their operations." Jack nodded, his expression resolute. "We have to keep pushing. Every strike brings us closer to freedom." The team agreed, their resolve strengthened by their success. They knew the road ahead would be long and dangerous, but they were ready to fight for their world and their future. The wastelands were filled with the ruins of once great cities, now overrun by scavengers and alien patrols. Jack traveled with a small group, including Sarah and Maria. They moved cautiously, always alert for danger. In the desolate remnants of a small town, they encountered a group of survivors. These people were hardened by years of hardship, their faces lined with determination. Among them was Diego, a fierce warrior with a reputation for leading successful raids against the aliens. Jack approached Diego, recognizing a kindred spirit. "We're forming a resistance," he said. "We need fighters like you. Join us, and together we can defeat the aliens." Diego studied Jack, his eyes sharp. "Why should I trust you?" he asked. "How do I know you won't lead us to our deaths?" Jack met his gaze, unwavering. "Because we have a plan, and because fighting together is our only chance. We can't win this war alone." After a tense moment, Diego nodded. "All right, I'll join you, but if you betray us, you'll regret it." With Diego's band of followers, the resistance's numbers swelled. These new recruits brought skills and knowledge that were invaluable. Diego's people were experts in guerrilla tactics, having survived by ambushing alien patrols and raiding supply lines. Back at the underground base, Jack introduced the newcomers to the rest of the team. "This is Diego," he said. "He's a seasoned fighter, and his group will be a great asset to us." Sarah welcomed them with open arms, immediately discussing tactics with Diego. "Your experience in the wastelands will be invaluable," she said. "We need to learn from each other if we're going to succeed." Maria tended to the wounded, her medical skills put to good use with the influx of new fighters. "We have a lot of work ahead of us," she said. "But together, we can make a real difference." With their numbers bolstered, the resistance needed a way to move and communicate without detection. Sarah, ever resourceful, discovered an old network of tunnels beneath the city, remnants of an ancient subway system. She led Jack and Diego through the dark, winding passages, explaining her plan. "These tunnels are our lifeline," she said, her flashlight casting eerie shadows on the walls. "We can use them to move supplies, stage ambushes, and stay hidden from the aliens." Jack nodded, impressed by her ingenuity. "This could change everything," he said. "We need to map out the entire network and establish safe houses along the way." The rebels set to work, exploring the tunnels and setting up strategic points. The underground network allowed them to move undetected, striking from the shadows and disappearing before the aliens could react. They used old maintenance rooms as storage depots, filling them with weapons, food, and medical supplies. One evening, as the team gathered in their makeshift command center deep within the tunnels, Sarah unveiled a new addition to their network. She had managed to repurpose an old radio transmitter hidden in a derelict station. "With this, we can communicate securely across the city," she said. "The aliens won't be able to intercept our messages." Diego was impressed. "This gives us a real advantage," he said. "We can coordinate our attacks more effectively and respond to threats quickly." The rebels began to execute more daring operations, using the tunnels to launch surprise attacks on alien installations. One night, they raided a heavily guarded supply train, emerging from the tunnels like ghosts. The aliens were caught off guard, and the rebels made off with a bounty of supplies. Jack stood before the group, a map of the tunnel network spread out before him. "We've been doing great," he said, "but we need to keep pushing. Every successful mission brings us closer to our goal. We need to stay vigilant and always be one step ahead." The team nodded, their resolve strengthened by their recent successes. They knew the fight would be long and arduous, but with the underground network and their growing numbers, they felt a renewed sense of hope. As they continued to expand the network, they discovered hidden chambers and old storage rooms that had remained untouched for decades. These hidden caches provided unexpected resources and safe havens. The tunnels became a symbol of their resilience and ingenuity, a secret world beneath the feet of their oppressors, where the seeds of freedom were being sown. During a daring raid on an alien research facility, the rebels stumbled upon an unexpected find: a human scientist, Dr. Chen, who had been working under duress for the aliens. The facility was located deep within the city's industrial district, heavily guarded and fortified. The mission was to gather intelligence and, if possible, sabotage any ongoing projects. As Jack, Sarah, and Diego led the team through the facility, they encountered Dr. Chen locked in a laboratory, surrounded by alien technology. He looked disheveled, but his eyes lit up with a mixture of fear and hope as the rebels burst in. "Who are you?" Dr. Chen asked, his voice trembling. "We're the Resistance," Jack replied. "We're here to free you and anyone else we can find. What are you doing here?" Dr. Chen glanced nervously at the door. "I've been forced to work on their technology. They think I'm helping them enhance their weaponry. But I've been stalling as much as I can. I have information that can help you. The aliens have a weakness." Sarah stepped forward, intrigued. "What kind of weakness?" Dr. Chen leaned in, lowering his voice. "Their entire power network is based on a massive crystal hidden deep within their main fortress. It's the source of their energy and their technological superiority. If you destroy it, their defenses will collapse, and their weapons will be useless." Jack's eyes widened. "Why didn't you tell anyone before?" "I couldn't risk it. They monitor everything," Dr. Chen replied. "But if you can get me out of here, I can show you exactly where it is and how to destroy it." The rebels quickly agreed. They fought their way out of the facility, bringing Dr. Chen to their underground hideout. As they regrouped, Dr. Chen shared detailed schematics of the alien fortress and the location of the crystal. The team pored over the information, realizing the enormity of the task ahead. "This is it," Jack said, a determined look on his face. "This is our chance to strike a decisive blow." Dr. Chen revealed the specifics of the crystal and its defenses. "The crystal is housed in a heavily fortified chamber at the center of their main fortress," he explained, pointing to a holographic map. "It's protected by layers of security and guarded by their elite forces. But there's a way in." The rebels gathered around, listening intently. "There's an old maintenance shaft that leads directly to the chamber," Dr. Chen continued. "It's rarely used, and if you can bypass the security systems, you can plant explosives around the crystal and destroy it." Sarah studied the schematics, already formulating a plan. "We'll need precise timing and coordination," she said. "Diego, your team will create a diversion to draw the guards away from the chamber. Jack, you and I will take Dr. Chen through the maintenance shaft and plant the explosives." The team spent days preparing, gathering supplies and rehearsing their moves. They knew this mission was their most dangerous yet, but it was also their best chance to cripple the alien occupation. On the night of the mission, the rebels moved under the cover of darkness. Diego and his fighters positioned themselves near the fortress's main entrance, ready to cause chaos and draw the guards away. As the signal was given, they launched their attack, explosions and gunfire echoing through the night. Meanwhile, Jack, Sarah, and Dr. Chen made their way to the maintenance shaft. They moved quickly and quietly, avoiding patrols and surveillance systems. The shaft was narrow and dark, and the air was thick with tension. Every sound seemed amplified, every shadow a potential threat. As they approached the chamber, Sarah hacked into the security systems, disabling alarms and cameras. "We're in," she whispered, her fingers flying over the keyboard. "But we don't have much time." They entered the chamber, and the sight of the crystal took their breath away. It was enormous, pulsating with a bright, otherworldly light. Dr. Chen directed them to place the explosives at specific points around the crystal, explaining that a synchronized detonation would be necessary to ensure its destruction. Jack and Sarah worked quickly, setting the charges while Dr. Chen kept watch. Suddenly, an alarm blared. The security systems had been triggered. "We've been detected," Dr. Chen shouted. Jack finished setting the last charge and turned to the others. "We need to get out of here, now!" They sprinted back through the maintenance shaft, the sound of alien soldiers closing in behind them. As they emerged into the open air, they could see Diego and his team still engaged in fierce combat, holding their ground despite the overwhelming odds. Jack grabbed the detonator, his hands shaking. "We have to trust that everyone is clear," he said, looking at Sarah and Dr. Chen. "This is for humanity." He pressed the button. The ground shook as the explosives detonated, and a blinding light filled the sky. The crystal shattered, sending shock waves through the fortress. The alien technology powered by the crystal began to fail, and their forces were thrown into disarray. Diego and his team regrouped with Jack, Sarah, and Dr. Chen. "We did it," Diego said, a fierce grin on his face. "Their power source is gone." The rebels cheered, their spirits lifted by the success of their mission. But they knew this was just the beginning of the end. With the aliens' defenses weakened, it was time to launch a full-scale assault and reclaim their world. The final battle for Earth's freedom had begun. The destruction of the crystal dealt a significant blow to the alien forces, but the rebels knew their work was far from over. To capitalize on their victory, they needed to strike at the heart of the alien command structure. The fortress, though weakened, still housed the alien leadership and their most advanced technology. Jack, Sarah, and Dr. Chen, along with a select group of elite fighters, prepared for their most dangerous mission yet, infiltrating the alien fortress to dismantle the remaining command and control systems. Their plan hinged on stealth and precision, knowing that a direct confrontation would be suicide. The night of the infiltration, the team gathered at the entrance to the maintenance shaft that Dr. Chen had previously identified. Jack addressed the group, his voice steady and resolute. "This is it. We get in, disable their command systems, and get out. Stay focused and follow the plan. Our future depends on it." The team entered the shaft, moving silently through the narrow passageways. Sarah led the way, using a portable device to disable security measures and create a path to the central control room. The air was thick with tension, every sound echoing ominously in the confined space. As they neared the control room, the group split up. Jack, Sarah, and Dr. Chen would handle the main control systems, while Diego and his fighters created diversions and neutralized any threats. They communicated through whispered updates, every step calculated to avoid detection. The control room was heavily fortified, but Sarah's expertise in alien technology proved invaluable. She bypassed the final security protocols, and they slipped inside. The room was filled with advanced alien machinery, consoles glowing with unfamiliar symbols. Dr. Chen began to work immediately, his fingers flying over the controls. "I can disable their communications and shut down their remaining defenses," he said. "But it will take a few minutes." Jack and Sarah stood guard, their eyes scanning the room for any signs of trouble. Outside, the sounds of distant explosions and alien shrieks indicated that Diego's team was effectively drawing attention away from them. Just as Dr. Chen finished his task, an alarm blared. Alien soldiers, alerted to the breach, swarmed towards the control room. "We've been compromised," Sarah shouted. "We need to hold them off until Dr. Chen is done." Jack and Sarah took up defensive positions, firing at the approaching soldiers. The battle was fierce, the confined space amplifying the chaos. Dr. Chen continued his work, undeterred by the violence around him. "Almost there," Dr. Chen called out. "Just a few more seconds." As the aliens closed in, Jack and Sarah fought with everything they had, their determination fueled by the knowledge that this was their best chance to cripple the alien forces once and for all. Finally, Dr. Chen hit the final key, and the control room system shut down. "It's done," Dr. Chen shouted. "Let's get out of here." The team retreated, fighting their way back through the maintenance shaft. They emerged into the night, battered but triumphant. The alien fortress was in disarray, their command structure dismantled. The rebels had struck a critical blow. With the command and control systems disabled, the rebels turned their attention to the crystal chamber itself. Despite the damage they had already inflicted, the crystal chamber remained a symbol of the aliens' power and a potential source of resurgence, if not completely destroyed. Jack, Sarah, Dr. Chen, and Diego, along with a small team of elite fighters, prepared for this final assault. They knew the chamber would be heavily guarded, even in the current state of disarray. Every step needed to be precise. Any mistake could be fatal. They re-entered the fortress through the maintenance shaft, moving quickly and quietly. This time their goal was not just sabotage, but complete annihilation of the crystal and its surrounding infrastructure. Sarah carried a new set of more powerful explosives, designed to ensure the crystal would be shattered beyond repair. As they approached the crystal chamber, they encountered fierce resistance. Alien soldiers, aware of the previous breach, were on high alert. Diego led the charge, his combat skills and leadership inspiring the team to push through despite the heavy fire. "We need to clear a path to the chamber," Jack shouted over the din of battle. Dr. Chen directed them towards a side entrance that bypassed the main guard posts. "This way. It's less defended but still dangerous." They fought their way to the side entrance, losing 2 fighters to the relentless alien attacks. Every step was a struggle, but their resolve never wavered. The team burst into the crystal chamber, and the sight before them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The crystal, now visibly damaged from the previous explosion, still pulsed with a malevolent energy. Alien engineers worked frantically to repair it, unaware of the rebels' presence until it was too late. "Set the charges," Jack ordered. "We need to finish this." Sarah and Dr. Chen moved quickly, placing the new explosives around the crystal. Diego and Jack held off the alien guards, their weapons blazing. The atmosphere was charged with tension, the stakes higher than ever. As the last charge was set, Sarah activated the timer. "We've got 5 minutes to get clear," she said. "Let's move." The team fought their way back out of the chamber, the sounds of pursuit growing louder. The fortress shook with each step, the impending explosion adding to the chaos. Just as they reached the maintenance shaft, the ground beneath them rumbled violently. The explosion was cataclysmic. The crystal chamber imploded, sending shock waves through the entire fortress. The energy released from the crystal's destruction caused a chain reaction, collapsing walls and toppling alien structures. The rebels emerged from the shaft, covered in dust and debris, but alive. They watched as the alien fortress crumbled, their victory complete. The alien soldiers, now leaderless and without their power source, fled in disarray. Jack turned to his team, a look of fierce pride on his face. "We did it. The crystal is gone. The fortress is destroyed. We've taken back our world." Sarah nodded, her eyes shining with tears of relief. "This is just the beginning. We still have a lot of work to do, but we've shown that we can win." Diego clapped Jack on the shoulder. "We've come this far. There's no stopping us now. We'll rebuild and make sure this never happens again." Dr. Chen smiled, his expression one of weary triumph. "We fought for our freedom, and we won. Now, it's time to build a new future." As the sun rose over the ruins of the alien fortress, the rebels stood together, united in their victory. The chains of their alien oppressors had been broken, and a new dawn of hope and freedom began to shine on their world. With the alien fortress in ruins and their power source destroyed, the rebels regrouped to plan their next moves. Their victory had given them momentum, but the war was far from over. They gathered in the underground base, a mix of determination and exhaustion on their faces. As they celebrated their recent triumphs, a sense of unease began to creep in. Jack had always stressed the importance of vigilance and trust within the group, but there were rumors of an alien sympathizer among them. The stakes were too high to ignore any potential threat. One night, as the team was reviewing their next target, a critical alien communication hub, Diego noticed something strange. A member of their group, Lucas, had been acting suspiciously. Lucas was a recent recruit, and while he had proven himself in combat, his background remained somewhat of a mystery. "Jack," Diego whispered, pulling him aside, "I think Lucas might be working for the aliens. I've seen him sneaking around and overheard him talking to someone on a concealed communicator." Jack's face hardened. "If he's a traitor, we need to deal with him immediately, but we need proof. Gather the team. We'll confront him and get to the bottom of this." The rebels gathered in a dimly lit room, tension thick in the air. Lucas was brought in, his expression a mix of confusion and defiance. Jack stepped forward, his voice cold and commanding. "Lucas, we've received reports that you've been communicating with the enemy. Is this true?" Lucas's eyes darted around the room, looking for an escape. "I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. "I'm loyal to the cause." Diego stepped forward, holding up the concealed communicator he had found in Lucas's belongings. "Then explain this." Lucas's face paled. Realizing he was caught, he tried to make a run for it, but the rebels quickly restrained him. All right, he yelled. "I was forced to work for them. They threatened my family. I had no choice." Jack's eyes narrowed. "You betrayed us, Lucas. You've endangered everything we fought for. What information did you give them? Lucas hung his head in shame. I told them about our plans to attack the communication hub. They know we're coming. Anger surged through the room. The rebels felt the sting of betrayal keenly, but Jack remained calm. We can't let this stop us. We'll adjust our plans and strike harder than ever. Lucas was taken away, his fate left to be decided by the group's leaders. The betrayal had shaken the rebels, but it also strengthened their resolve. They couldn't afford any more mistakes. With their plans compromised, the rebels had to act quickly. Jack and Sarah revised the strategy, deciding to hit the communication hub earlier than planned to catch the aliens off guard. The new plan was risky, but it was their best chance to maintain the element of surprise. On the night of the mission, the team moved with heightened vigilance. They approached the hub, a towering structure bristling with alien technology, under the cover of darkness. The air was thick with anticipation. Diego and his fighters created a diversion at the perimeter, drawing alien soldiers away from the main entrance. Explosions and gunfire filled the night, the rebels fighting with fierce determination. Meanwhile, Jack, Sarah, and a small team infiltrated the building through a maintenance shaft. They moved swiftly and silently, disabling security systems and avoiding patrols. Sarah carried the explosives, her face set in grim determination. As they reached the central control room, they encountered heavy resistance. Alien soldiers, alerted to their presence, fought fiercely to protect the hub. Jack and Sarah took cover, returning fire with precision. "We need to get to the core," Sarah shouted over the noise. "That's where the main power conduits are. If we plant the explosives there, we can take down the entire structure." Jack nodded, signaling the team to push forward. They fought their way through the alien defenders, reaching the core just as their ammunition ran low. Sarah quickly set the charges, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. "Charges are set," she yelled. "We've got 3 minutes to get out of here." The team retreated, racing against the clock. Alien reinforcements were closing in, but the rebels fought with renewed vigor, knowing the success of their mission depended on their escape. As they burst out of the building, the ground beneath them shook violently. The explosives detonated, sending a massive fireball into the sky. The communication hub collapsed in a series of deafening explosions, the alien technology reduced to rubble. The rebels regrouped at a safe distance, watching the destruction. Their faces were smeared with dirt and sweat, but their eyes shone with triumph. They had struck a critical blow, crippling the aliens' ability to coordinate their forces. Jack turned to his team, pride in his voice. "We did it. Their communication network is in ruins. This will give us the upper hand." Sarah smiled, exhaustion and relief evident on her face. "We need to keep the pressure on. This is our chance to turn the tide." With the alien communication hub destroyed, the rebels knew that now was the time to launch a full-scale assault on the remaining alien forces. The aliens, now disorganized and unable to coordinate their efforts, were vulnerable. Jack called a meeting with all the key members of the resistance to finalize their plans for the ultimate battle. "We've crippled their communication and power structures," Jack began, addressing the gathered crowd. "Now is our chance to strike a decisive blow. We need to take out their central command and end their occupation once and for all." Sarah laid out the map of the city, highlighting key alien installations. "Their main command center is here," she said, pointing to a heavily fortified building in the heart of the city. "It's the last stronghold. If we take it down, the remaining alien forces will fall apart." Diego, standing beside Jack, clenched his fist. "We need to hit them hard and fast. They won't be expecting us to move so quickly after the hub attack." The rebels mobilized, gathering all available resources and fighters. Every able-bodied person, from seasoned fighters to those who had just joined the cause, prepared for the assault. They armed themselves with whatever weapons they could find, including alien technology they had repurposed. As dawn broke, the rebels moved into position. The city was eerily quiet, the calm before the storm. Jack, Sarah, Diego, and Dr. Chen led the charge, each knowing the importance of their roles. They had divided their forces into several squads, each with a specific objective to ensure a coordinated attack. The signal was given, and the rebels surged forward. Explosions rocked the city as they breached the alien defenses. Diego's squad led the frontal assault, engaging the bulk of the alien soldiers and drawing them into the open. His tactical brilliance and fierce combat skills inspired those around him. Meanwhile, Jack and Sarah led their team through the side entrances, using the underground tunnels to navigate beneath the main stronghold. They emerged within the heart of the alien command center, taking the defenders by surprise. The battle was intense, with both sides fighting with everything they had. Alien soldiers, desperate to protect their last bastion, fought fiercely, but the rebels, driven by their desire for freedom and fueled by the memory of their fallen comrades, pressed on relentlessly. In the command center, Jack and Sarah faced Kaldor, the alien leader. Kaldor was a formidable opponent, towering over them with a presence that exuded menace. "You think you can defeat us?" he snarled, his eyes glowing with hatred. Jack stepped forward, his voice resolute. "This is our world. We will take it back." The fight with Kaldor was brutal. He wielded advanced alien weapons, but Jack and Sarah fought with a combination of skill, determination, and the alien technology they had repurposed. In a final, desperate move, Jack managed to disarm Kaldor and, with Sarah's help, delivered a fatal blow. With Kaldor's death, the remaining alien forces began to falter. The rebels, sensing victory, pushed forward with renewed vigor. Alien soldiers, now leaderless and demoralized, either surrendered or fled. As the battle raged on outside, Jack, Sarah, and Dr. Chen worked quickly inside the command center. They had to ensure that the alien technology was completely disabled, preventing any chance of a counterattack. Sarah accessed the main control console, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "I'm shutting down their defense systems," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "This will leave them completely exposed." Dr. Chen assisted, using his knowledge of alien technology to disrupt their power grid. "This should create a massive feedback loop," he explained. "It will fry their systems permanently." Outside, Diego and his fighters continued to mop up the remaining resistance. Alien soldiers, realizing their defeat, began to lay down their arms. The sound of battle gradually faded, replaced by the cheers of victorious rebels. Jack stood over Kaldor's fallen body, a mixture of relief and sorrow on his face. "It's over," he said softly. "We've won." Sarah joined him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "We've done what we came here to do, but there's still so much to rebuild." Jack nodded. "We'll rebuild. We'll create a world where our children can live free from fear." As they exited the command center, the rebels gathered around them, cheering and celebrating their hard-fought victory. The city, once a symbol of alien oppression, was now a beacon of hope and freedom. In the days that followed, the rebels worked tirelessly to secure their newfound freedom. They dismantled the remaining alien technology, ensuring that the invaders could never return. They also began the arduous task of rebuilding their cities, helping the wounded, and caring for the displaced. Jack, Sarah, Diego, and Dr. Chen were hailed as heroes, but they knew that the true victory belonged to everyone who had fought and sacrificed for their freedom. They held a ceremony to honor the fallen, vowing never to forget the price they had paid. As the sun set on a liberated world, Jack addressed the gathered crowd. "We stand here today, free because we never gave up. We fought for our future and we won. Now let's build a world worthy of their sacrifice." The crowd erupted in applause, their spirits lifted by the promise of a new beginning. The chains of their alien oppressors had been broken, and the dawn of a new era had begun. The rebels, now leaders of a free world, faced many challenges ahead. But they faced them with hope, determination, and the unbreakable spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. Together, they would forge a future where humanity could thrive, free from the shadows of their past.